Aloha, welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I'm so happy to be with you again today as we consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. If you're tuning in today, you're here for part 2 of my fascinating conversation with Anna Runkle, the crappy childhood fairy. If you missed the earlier episodes with Anna, I highly recommend listening to it before diving into this episode. It's packed with incredible insights that you won't want to miss. Now, I was looking over here at some of the questions that I could ask you, and I wanted to ask you exactly for my people that are listening, what is dysregulation and maybe some signs of it so they might be able to say, oh, I start to identify with it, and maybe it would connect them with being able to read your book and find out more.
Yeah, everybody gets dysregulated sometimes.
Yes.
Virtually everyone eventually will re-regulate. But those of us with trauma or harsh anxiety will get dysregulated more of the time, and it'll be harder to get out of. It'll last longer. It can be more intense than what you see other people experiencing, and so these are some of the symptoms. Some of them you can feel, some of them you can't. Some of the most obvious things that you feel when it's happening are you feel discombobulated or just kind of like frustrated, like I'm dropping everything. I keep bumping into things. I open the drawer and hit myself in the knee. My relationship to my physical environment is just off. And in fact, that is part of dysregulation. Or you're losing track of time, or you're losing track of when it's time to sleep or time to wake up. You're losing track of when it's time to eat and when it's not time to eat. Like that gets very dysregulated for a lot of us. We're eating too much or not enough or just kind of all at once and not being able to handle it, and then, starving all day. There's these all outward functions that are going odd. Sometimes you get numb. I'm very lucky. One of my symptoms is my nose feels numb, which is a very obvious sign. So if my nose is numb, that's often like a little sentinel that's like, you don't realize it yet, but you're actually like checking out right now.
Yes.
And that's my signal. Do not make major decisions. Do not say things that are very intense, like, that's it, I'm leaving, I quit, because those thoughts, when I'm dysregulated, the thing about dysregulation is you're very detached, perhaps dissociated might be the word, from your truest feelings and thoughts and your values and your good sense. Like, don't storm out on the job. Like, wait, go talk to somebody about this. Figure out what the options are. Consider looking for a new job. All that like common sense stuff. And for people who are prone to dysregulation, there are many burned up relationships and lost opportunities because of these outbursts. That's called emotional dysregulation.
Okay.
And emotional dysregulation is very painful and hurtful. Emotional dysregulation is probably what drives physically abusive behavior for people who are physically abusive. Most people with trauma are not, but people who are physically abusive usually are traumatized, and they are not able to regulate their anger. And I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying this is often what's happening. And sadly, people have not, most of us have grown up in an age where nobody knew what to do about that. And I wonder sometimes if we're not the first people to figure this out. I noticed there is an archaeological site in China where there's like thousands of these terracotta soldiers. Have you ever seen pictures of that?
No,
Or some people have visited it? Thousands of them, life-size soldiers marching in formation. I'm like, see, they were marching in formation 3,000 years ago. So if you were fighting battles, you're probably very, very dysregulated, and, PTSD symptoms and nervous system just completely, oh no, knives. And there are a few things that we know are very helpful for re-regulation. And I'll talk about sort of a broader thing, but just what people have known for years is like singing together, chanting together as soldiers will, moving together, left, right, with left and right called out. And even these terracotta soldiers had the same foot forward. They were doing these like regulating things. And there's something about, and this is not very well understood yet, I hypothesize it has to do with our nervous systems are nodes on a greater sort of nervous system awareness or collective consciousness. So when you're with a group of people and you're all doing the motions together, the Macarena, the hokey pokey,
Mm-hmm.
yoga,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there's all these things that we do together that are extra re-regulating. Another dimension that makes such an activity extra re-regulating is doing it outside. So you're getting the cue of the sun, which is telling you what time of day is it, what season is it, where are we geographically. Like we have very fine awareness of, we're like little compasses.
Yes.
We probably know where the North Pole is. Our bodies know what's going on with the tides every day, even if consciously we don't know this stuff. We need to be attuned to nature, to each other, to our own bodies, to the
Mhm.
events that are happening right now, like people with knives are coming at you. That attunement is what gets just shattered with trauma. You lose the
Right.
attunement. So I hypothesize a nervous system phenomenon. It just can't process that information that's so crucial for your body to know. So we can give our body a little help with that. Going
Oh,
outside more, moving more, whatever the movement is, any kind of movement is good. Like if somebody's got limitations, some movement, anything
yeah.
that's connecting up the intention to move with a movement. So one of my favorite things to do is to go like sweep the front walk. It always has
Mm,
leaves on it, and it makes
yeah.
me go outside and it makes me do something with my hands, and
Mhm.
it makes things look tidier, which I think is re-regulating.
Yeah. Yes, I
Visual
believe
chaos.
so.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
for me.
Yeah, so then I see the clear walk and it feels satisfying in some way. It's just a little something to do when I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Hmm.
Washing the dishes,
Yeah.
that's a nice one because then you have the sensation of warm water,
Hmm.
slippery soap. Your hands are feeling things.
Yes.
When I'm dysregulated, I drop dishes. I've had dishwashing, washing up after a meal, for a group of people, maybe dinner for three of us. And I've
Hmm.
broken four dishes in four separate moments because I
Wow.
can't control my grip.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I went to the doctor. They're like, oh, it's MS. It's not MS. It just turns out my body can't talk to its whole self when I'm dysregulated, when I'm very like anxious and la, 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 flustered. It's that flustered,
Yeah.
anxious feeling. So I've learned that. I trip on stairs. So
Mm,
right before I learned about what is CPTSD and what is dysregulation, I was engaged to my now husband.
mm,
I was finding it stressful because I have a lot of wounds from, hard relationships, lost relationships, a divorce, a
mm.
partner who killed himself. You know,
I'm sorry.
I had all this stuff coming up. He's never going to stay. I just know it. And I was stressed and we had an argument and I tripped on a stair. We were about to get on, we were with my kids and we were going to get on a Thames River cruise boat at the Tower of London
Mm, mm,
for the kids. And there was this little step in the pavement, where everybody was waiting to get on the boat. And I slipped on
mm.
it and I was wearing a dress and it flipped up over my head. And I didn't hit my head or anything. I was just embarrassed, but I was stunned from just falling.
Yeah.
And my kids were so traumatized by the shame they felt that their mom was laying there with her underwear showing and her dress flipped up over her head and just like
Yeah.
falling down. And we all got on the boat and the whole family was just like traumatized by my dysregulation.
Oh.
And so when I learned there's a word for this, it was like the most powerful moment because I was living with so much dysregulation. I didn't know
Mm,
what was wrong. It was so hard for me to focus all day.
yeah.
I could do intense bursts of productivity and then I would just be like, people, I can't. And
Exhausted.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would get so overwhelmed by success, failure, whatever, having to, call up people and tell them we don't need them on the project today. Even that would just be so hard for me. Or to ask for work from a potential client. I used to struggle with so much. And when I learned what the word was, I realized I had known all along. I had known since I learned those techniques. It
Yeah.
was 20 years between learning the techniques and then realizing, oh, that's what the techniques do. Because I was sort of half-assing it with the techniques at that point. I was like, I'm
Mm.
engaged. I don't need this anymore. I got the man. Like, we're good.
Life's good.
But I got
Hmm.
where I was like, when I don't use these techniques, I go down and I go
Mm.
down to the same place, but
Mm.
worse. And so now I'm just like, I really accept. That's another hand of cards I accept. I use my techniques. I embrace my techniques. They help me. They are so worth it. So it takes about half an hour twice a day to do them. So people say,
Yeah.
that's too much.
Okay.
I
Half
can't do
hour.
that. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
lot. But, keep in mind, I was a single mom for 9 years and I did it twice a day. And I got up, I
yeah.
made it a treat for the kids. If they were very good, they could sit on my lap while I meditated. And we had a special
Oh,
blanket they could bring over to my lap and sit there. And they both learned to
yeah.
meditate. They both learned to write as well. Kids can do it. Um, and one of them still does it every day. They're
Oh,
in
I
their
love
20s
that.
now. Yeah, so they have a way to deal with stuff. And I'm really glad to have shared that with them. It also makes me glad to share it with the world. I think 15% of my audience, they are therapists and doctors and things, and many of them say,
Oh, I am
I
sure.
get dysregulated. And
Yes.
so there are many ways you can come at dysregulation. Some people do it with like somatic healing. Some people do
Mhm.
it with nature, time spent in nature and physical activity. There are a lot of ways you can come at it. I am the type, it's very thinky. I call it thinky. you
Yeah.
know. And so it does help me to use my body, but most of all it helps me to get those thoughts on paper and like put them down and just be like, okay, there. I can just have a little space, a little oxygen, a little movement, a little open-mindedness about what's going on here, or just take a rest. Don't even think about what's going on, just rest.
Yeah.
Turn the page. And
A little
that's
side note here.
Mhm.
Do you prefer that people use pen to paper, which has always been what I have suggested for people?
Yes.
Yes, over the typing,
Or pencil.
correct?
Pencil's even more friction.
Pencils, even more
Yeah.
friction. I
Yeah.
love it.
I like pencils for that
Yes.
reason. I like mechanical pencils so they're not like a hassle because
Right. You
I
just
write
click it.
write so much. But I've been writing twice a day for so long that now the minute I'm writing anything, even a grocery list, I start to relax.
Yes,
I start to release the
exactly.
stress
Yeah.
and my mind clears up. And I think of myself as somebody who has an uncommonly clear mind now. And I
Oh,
do
I
get
love
brain
that.
fog sometimes.
Yeah.
When I got COVID, I was brain fogged for 7 months. I was really sick. I
Yeah.
recovered, but I'm really
Thank
aware when I'm brain
goodness.
fogged. And I've also noticed like if I eat a lot of sugar, I'll brain fog. And that's kind of like for me, sugar and before that, cigarettes, those are ways that I used to see. I'm like, thank God for the addictive behaviors because when you don't have a better solution to just like take the pressure off,
Yeah.
you got to take the pressure off.
Yeah.
Our brothers and
Yeah.
sisters are in dire straits out there somewhere. And it's like, you need a cigarette, you need a cigarette. And then when
Yeah.
you have something better you can do, you can let it go. You can let it go.
Exactly. We can take steps up. We don't have to do it perfectly right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was a time, to a degree, they used to help me regulate. They used to help me like
Yeah.
release my emotions. You get to go outside for a while and you're like, you
That's right.
know, you know?
I always used to say it isn't fair. The smokers get a break.
I
They get to go
know.
outside.
I know.
Yeah.
So we get a writing break. And then I
Yeah.
had the pleasure. Do you know about James Pennebaker and his
Yes,
work
I
on
do.
expressive writing?
Yes.
Yeah, I got to hang
Please
out with
share.
him.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, he endorsed my book. I'm so honored, and he's such
Oh,
a wonderful, nice person. So I was in Austin. I asked if we could hang out, and he said yes. And I explained to him what I'm doing, and he goes, "Yep, yep, that makes sense." And his technique is a little different than what I do. It doesn't involve meditation afterwards. But I said, but I
right.
think that those of us who are pretty rattled going into it, we kind of
Yeah.
need something extra or it's too much. And he said, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. He's like a
Oh,
world-renowned psychologist. And
yes.
there are
Yes. Very well known.
2,000 peer-reviewed studies on what his work has found is that writing has a unique therapeutic value that's different than the value of speaking, which for many of us, like me, I've seen a statistic that it was about 30% of traumatized people are like me. Talking about trauma is so overwhelming. It's not the
Yeah.
best way to get relief. We all need to
Yeah.
talk about it at some point. We need to express ourselves, but writing is expression. You can read what you
Yes.
wrote. And to this day, when I make videos where I'm being a little bit more self-disclosing about hard things I've been through, it's always written and teleprompted. And luckily, I'm very good at reading my own writing as natural speech. But that
Yeah.
prevents me from getting all dysregulated when I'm talking about a hard thing from the
Oh,
past.
that's a wonderful tool for you then. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody listening, if you've noticed that talking about stuff tends to make you more upset, try it. Try writing about it instead. Now, a lot of people journal. And journaling is great. Or they do the morning pages from the Artist's Way. There's
Morning
a lot of
pages.
ways that people have already figured out that writing is therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's different about the daily practice is we're not trying to write to remember or record or look for patterns. We're
Right.
dumping. We're basically just like,
Dumping.
it's just a
Yes.
dump, and then you tear it up. And the reason it's written at the end, please remove this. But so it's done. It's already removed, but we tear it up so that nobody reads it. You need
Yeah.
absolute privacy between you and your
Yes.
piece of paper so that you can put,
Yeah.
because the thoughts in here can be pretty ugly. They're hateful. They're things you would never want people to know that thought you had. And I think the most loving thing and responsible thing we can do with hateful thoughts is get them
Mm-hmm.
on paper, just like I call it facing it. We face what we're feeling. We name it. We say
Yeah.
specifically what it is. And,
Yeah.
and then we ask for it to be removed. And this has become a very spiritual practice for me over the years. And when people come to my calls, I talk less about the spirituality on YouTube, which is where most people contact my work, but I do free
Yes.
Zoom calls. Me and my team do them every week for anybody who wants to come and do the techniques, and we take questions. And there you'll get a little bit more of the spiritual aspect for me of how
Oh, good.
important it is, I think, that anybody who can free themselves of this grinding resentment towards other people. I know that it's
Yeah.
not our fault we became this way, but we can do terrible harm in the world with that resentment, and we can limit ourselves terribly. I just have found that now that I have a way to get free of it, not only do I have less of it, but I've been able to, I don't know, be someone inspiring and helpful and uplifting for others, like in a big
Mm.
way. And if
Yes.
everyone can be like that, everyone
Yeah.
can be like that. But
Yeah.
you need to know how to get free first. And I don't think like everything that we get told about trauma is freeing.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people identify with it. Well, I'm traumatized, or I have PTSD or
Hmm.
CPTSD. And they just stay there. Like even if
Yeah.
they're in therapy, often they will report to me that it isn't moving anywhere. They don't feel
Yeah.
any kind of relief, I guess. And like we talked about earlier, sometimes you just need even a little relief so you can continue forward.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little relief, and then a little space to be able to see what can you change. And I remember when I
Yeah.
was like really under the weight of it all, it was very hard for me to think of being culpable for any of my problems
Ah,
because I was like this close to not being able to handle life at all.
right.
So if you were to say, "Well, Anna, I think you're making self-destructive choices," which I was, I would
Yeah.
have been like, "Oh my God, that you're going to shatter me. Like I can't
Yes.
hate myself any more than I do and stay alive. I just
Yeah.
can't." So
Yes.
I didn't have a safe way to be able to like look at, oh, I see, I'm making self-destructive choices, which is actually
Mhm.
it's actually wonderful because it's like, something I can change. I
I
may not
am
know
in
how.
control.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, we're in control, but it's a whole different category than things that happened in the past that other people did. That's two ways that you can't control it.
Exactly.
But the other thing is, and I think, everybody is experiencing this in one way or another, but we're in this sort of like cultural moment where sometimes, I mean, it's so easy to be invisible. It's so easy to be overlooked and no one cares about you. There's so much alienation. And that's why I had to write my second book. But
Yeah.
in order to be cared about, sometimes it helps to have a problem like this.
Hmm.
I hate it when people say, oh, there's no such, oh, boo hoo, grow up, stop
Hmm.
focusing on your trauma. They have no idea what many of us have been through. It's
Exactly.
understandable that we cry and that it's hard and that we're not getting over it instantly. But it's also true that focusing on it exclusively, what happened, how terrible it was, it doesn't
Hmm.
tend to move you forward. And
Hmm.
so I really have found that the most potent place to put your attention, provided you also have had a chance to just talk and get some validation, what happened to you, that may be in the future for you. Like here right now, whether or not you've had that or not, you can start to just say, right now, I am resentful at,
Yeah.
the person who parked in front of my house
Hmm.
because I have fear they're throwing all this garbage out on the street, and fear they've got curtains drawn over the windows, and fear there's some child molester, and fear I'm scared to walk out there. Oh, I have
Yeah.
fear, And
Yeah.
so we start to be able to name what it is that's bothering us. And just in this random thing that I just invented out of my mind about something we might feel both scared and resentful about, you might find that you have the power to just go out there and go, or get somebody to go out there with you and go, what's going on here? Pick this
Yeah.
up. Or,
Yeah.
Whatever, you're going to forget about it if you choose, call the cops. All choices are on the table
Mm.
when you are free from, just being like paralyzed with fear and resentment. When
That's
people
the word, Anna, paralyzed.
paralyzed. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And mentally paralyzed with it too.
Yes.
So that's why I think it can be dangerous to focus too much,
Mm.
on the abuse that happened, on who did it, why did they do it? Some of
Mm.
these things are unanswerable.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you shouldn't ask, but as long as, my priority is always like, what's going on with me right now? What am I getting all dysregulated over? What's the trigger?
This is a good place to stop for today, but we'll be diving even deeper and enjoying our conversation with Anna Runkle, the crappy childhood fairy. So be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, and I'll see you in the next episode. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.